Welcome to this lecture where I teach you how to MC an event. And I've kept this as the last lecture in the section for a specific reason. Because this entire course has been about how to teach you to become a professional speaker. I believe when you MC events, it can be easier for you to transition from being an audience participant to being a speaker. That MC role is your transitioning role. Why do I say this? You see, as an MC of an event, you are there coordinating other speakers. And because you're coordinating the entire event, you can watch and learn. Remember that as an audience participant, after a speaker has completed their talk, there's usually a big line to queue up after their talk in order to engage with the speaker. But as an MC, you've got first line to these amazing speakers. So whilst you are introducing them and speaking to them before their talk, you can also ask them specific questions about the speaking industry and how they got into it. And I just find it's an awesome way to actually learn from professional speakers to help you transition into a professional speaker yourself. So in this lecture, I'm going to share with you how to MC an event the next time you are asked to do so. Your first consideration is protocols. As an MC, you are there to maintain the protocols of the event. The more formal the event, the more protocols for you to adhere to. What do I mean by protocols? Perhaps there's a list of dignitaries that you need to acknowledge at the beginning of the event. Maybe there's a list of sponsors that have to be formally thanked either at the beginning or at the end of the talk. Maybe there's some important guests in the audience that you need to acknowledge at the beginning of your talk. Whatever it is, you need to make sure those protocols are maintained and you understand those protocols. Where do you get the protocols from? The event organizer. And small pointers like telling people to put their cell phones on silent, to announcing the times of the breaks, to letting them know where the lunch venues are. These are small matters that actually allow people to come into the room on time, to leave the room in an orderly fashion, and to ensure that the speakers get the maximum attention from their audience. That is your role as an MC. You set the protocols, but before you set the protocols, you need to know those protocols and constantly re-emphasize it throughout that event. Number 2 is gifts and names. And as you heard in the earlier lectures, when you are thanking a speaker, a gift might be handed over to the presenter. Again, are you as an MC handing over that gift? Or is it someone else as the organizer of the event that's going to be handing over this gift? It's important to get those protocols right so that you could include it as part of your running script that you'll learn a bit later, that you're going to be preparing as an MC to this event. If the person has a difficult sounding name, just ask the person, what would they prefer being called? And get that right. Because remember, as an MC, you don't want to be mispronouncing names because it brings down your own credibility and doesn't look very professional as you being an MC on the stage. Number 3, as an MC, your role is all about engagement. Your role is about keeping and maintaining and lifting up the energy levels of the audience. How do you do that? So as an MC, have on hand a list of snippets of information, whether it's stories, some facts, any particular data that you'd like to share with the audience in between speakers. Why do you do this? Sometimes a speaker might be a bit late, or perhaps they finish their speaking slot a little bit more earlier, and so you have this gap in the agenda. It's your role as the MC to fill up those gaps, and you can only do so if you have the snippets of information. I'd also ask you to have some videos that you also have as part of your repertoire that you share with the audience if you have a gap. Another technique is after a speaker has finished their talk, you can ask the delegates to pair up with each other in their groups and ask them to discuss the content of what they have just heard. then you have a roving microphone going around, and you then ask the groups to share their insights or the actions that they're going to be taking after listening to a particular speaker. That also helps to fill up the gaps in between. In the world of social media that we are using right now, as an MC, you could ask your audience to participate live via any of the social media platforms. And you can actually ask your audience to pose questions on these platforms. And again, in these delayed times, in the times where you're trying to fill in the gaps, you can bring up those social media pages and see what people are discussing and asking questions about. And you could use that as a way to answer those questions and again, fill up those gaps. Finally, with engagement, it's very important for you as an MC to make sure that there's some sort of connection and transition between one speaker and the next. You don't want to be creating a situation where you have introduced a speaker, you've thanked that speaker, and now to move on to the next speaker, it seems as if there's no connection between those two topics. It's your role as an MC to find the bridge between those two topics and to introduce the next speaker in a way that seems smooth and fluid. Number 4, as an MC, you want to be paying attention to the logistics and the equipment that's going to help and facilitate your role as an MC. As an MC, your primary role is to make sure that the event proceedings happens on schedule. And you can only do this once you have been aware of the agenda, the timing, the speaker details, the general flow of the event. Each speaker will have their own unique way of being introduced. Sometimes there's walk-on music that is played in the background as the presenter comes up onto the stage. Maybe the presenter that you are introducing would like a video to be shown just before you introduce them. But again, you don't know these things unless you engage with the speakers. And to do that, you need to see your role as the connection between the technician at the back of the room with the speaker who is about to speak. And prior to you introducing the speaker, you need to make sure that all that technology and the videos are synced so that you are looking as professional as you can be as an MC on the stage. That brings me to my next point. Because you're this conduit of a message between the technicians and the speaker and the audience, I would suggest that you sit as close as possible to the aisle, somewhere where you can get to the front of the stage to assist a speaker if need be, or to move to the back of the stage to speak with the technician. In case, for instance, the sound needs to be brought up or there's some technical glitch with the presentation, to go and assist to make sure that that gets up and running as quickly as possible. Or maybe a presenter is in need of water, and so you can quickly go and deliver a bottle of water for them if need be. Number 3, with logistics, timing is so critical. So before you introduce a speaker, just let them know how you're going to be managing time. Perhaps they have a timer in front of them and they'll manage their own timing on their speaking to make sure that they're speaking within their time slot. Or perhaps you'll show them a timer to count them down and notify them when it's 5 minutes left for their speech or when time is up. Whatever method you use, make sure that you communicate that in advance and you activate it and ensure that timing is kept in line. Because as an MC, you don't want to be that MC that does not keep the agenda on schedule. Just as a professional speaker, when you're the MC of an event, I would suggest that you get to the venue early, just to familiarize yourself with your speaking area. Where will you be speaking? How big is this venue? Where will you be introducing people? Where's the podium going to be situated? Where are you planning to sit? And that's an important part, because you don't want to be seated in a part of the room that an audience member is going to be seated, say. So reserve your seat in advance. And finally, my suggestion is to get a list of cell phone numbers of the speakers and the event organizers. Because as an MC, what you don't want is schedules running away from you. So it's nice to have the names of speakers. So if you know that you're going to be introducing someone ahead of time, after the current speaker, then you could quickly text them, are you in the audience? Are you on your way? Are you outside? So at least you're not stressing that someone is late if they are still arriving to the venue, or maybe they are lost. So by having their cell phones on hand whilst you are still listening to the next or the current speaker allows you to keep in control of your MC event. And number 2, by having the names of the organizers, in case you want to ask the organizers something, instead of disturbing the audience, you could quickly send them a text message. And finally, what I would suggest as an MC is that you put together what I call a running script. A running script is basically the agenda of the event, but it has been adjusted for what you are going to say and how you're going to introduce the person, what snippets of information might be relevant if you might be needing it. And to help you with this, as a resource to this section, I have included a sample of a running script that I have used and a template that you can download and adjust for yourself for your next MC event. That's it. I hope that this lecture has inspired you to not only be a speaker, but to also consider the very important role of being an MC of an event. I believe it's a beautiful transition from where you are right now to becoming that professional speaker. So to conclude this section, I've got a journal exercise that brings all of these separate lectures together, and that will conclude all these specialty speeches. I'll join you there.